My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is Fellowship of the Golden Age, and this is another episode in the Heal Thyself series. And with me today, I have an Aussie friend, and this is Sanne. So, hey, Sanne, how are you going?
I'm really good, thanks, Neptune. How are you?
Yeah, excellent, always.
That's
So,
good.
so anyway, we're going to hear a bit about San's journey and what she's done with that journey. So, Sam, first up, could you just give a little bit of an outline of yourself and your life, like a bit of your background to sort of show us who you are, where you've come from and
Sure. I was born in England and I left school at 18 and left England at 18 and never really lived there again. Traveled the world for quite some time in Africa and Asia and America and Canada and the Middle East, and finally settled in Australia when I was about 25.
hmm
Raised two sons who are now heading towards 30. I'm a musician. I work with herbs and natural health. I have done all my life. I'm blessed to live in a beautiful part of the world in northern New South Wales. I have 3 hectares to call my own, which takes a lot of my time to keep under control with all the tropical weather we have down here. And yeah, I generally feel very blessed and very grateful for my life.
Yeah, okay. So when you moved to Australia, did you pretty much go straight into that northern New South Wales region, or were you somewhere else first of all?
I lived in Perth for 2 years and then lived in Darwin for 7 years. And that's where I had both my sons.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do Steiner, so we left the Northern Territory when they were sort of starting to head towards, school age,
hmm
and ended up settling in the Northern Rivers.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Lovely. Okay.
Mhm.
So, um, what I'd like you to do now is just to give us a bit of a background on the significant health journey that you've faced. So, take your time in describing, yeah, your story with us.
Okay. Well, my story is how I basically healed myself from breast cancer. It's quite a long story. So I guess it began when I was 9 years old, and my own mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and 4 years later she died. So back then, it was a kind of a normal thing to do for parents not to really tell their kids what was going on.
Mm,
And so me and my two brothers really had no idea that my mum was dealing with breast cancer. And it was only the night before she died that my dad came home and really explained to us just how incredibly ill she was and that she was probably going to die in the next couple of days, which
mm,
she did. And before that, I'd never even really heard the term, breast cancer. I didn't understand it at all. And I guess this thing happened where I went, wow, my mum was here 1 minute and then breast cancer got her and she was gone the next, and
mm.
I guess it had quite an effect on me, right? I was 13 when she died, which is quite a sensitive time anyway in a girl's life.
Yeah, yeah.
And I vowed from then on really that I was just going to be as healthy as I could my whole life so that it wouldn't happen to me. And I was pretty much vegan, stroke vegetarian for many years. From when I left home at 18, I became a vegetarian. And in the ensuing years, I was mainly vegan, and I really went out of my way to eat organic food, and I exercised a lot. I was born with a sunny disposition, so I didn't have to deal with too many kind of demons of depression or anything like that. I decided to live my life to the full, which is why I spent years traveling and getting odd jobs here and there to save up enough money to get on to the next place. And I really enjoyed my life. I love playing music. I've been in dozens of bands over the years and played in lots of gigs, and that's one of my main passions for sure. And I thought life was going great. You know, I was really happy. But then back in 2010, I actually found a lump in my breast. And to start with, I ignored it, thinking it was, you know, just a cyst or something. But then eventually, when I went and had it checked out, which was a year or so later, I discovered that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had 3 lumps in my breast. The biggest one was 2 centimeters, and the other 2 were 1 centimeter each. It was recommended that I have a mastectomy and chemotherapy and radiation, and then, you know, tamoxifen for 5 to 10 years after, which is like a medication which suppresses your body's estrogen. So that was what I was faced with. But the problem that I had was, you know, my father also died of cancer when he was 72, and it seemed in both, plus my aunt also had breast cancer, my dad's sister. And the treatments they went through were just horrific. And I sort of figured that I just really didn't want to go down that path, because it felt a lot to me like it was the treatments that killed them, you know.
Yep.
Or, I mean, and there's a whole debate you could have about this, but I've always followed my intuition, and my intuition was really strongly saying, don't go down that, try something else first. So I did. I spent 12 months really absolutely just doing everything I could to get rid of the cancer in my breast. And I did. 12 months after I was diagnosed, I had an ultrasound, and there was nothing left in my breast. It was all completely gone.
And so
I was given the tip. What was I doing? Oh my gosh. Well, I guess one of the main things I did was I used black salve. Black salve is normally used on skin cancers because, and it's literally just 4 herbs mixed with zinc oxide. And what it does, it fuses with anything cancerous. I mean, and not just cancerous, a cyst or, you know, even a splinter or any kind of morbid material. It sinks into it and it fuses with it, and then it dries up and turns into a kind of scab and falls off like a scab would. And it's brilliant for skin cancers because they're on the surface. But I ended up doing 4 layers. So basically putting a layer on above where the lump was on my breast. And that did fuse with my skin, but it didn't go deep enough. So I ended up doing it 4 times. But on the 4th time, when the scab came off, the tumour was stuck on the back of the scab, a 2 centimetre by 2 centimetre tumour.
Wow.
And there was a hole in my boob that I could put my finger in. And it was pretty astounding. The other 2 lumps didn't come out. They were still there. Just the one did. But over the preceding few months, they just shrunk and went away. So I think that the black salve, although it didn't actually extract the other 2 lumps, it did actually kind of nullify them, really. You know, it did kind of kill them. And then my body just took over and basically mopped up. So that was kind of probably the most drastic and probably the hardest thing that I did. And everything else revolved around lots of herbs, lots of supplements. I mean, I did a 30-day fast with just, you know, vegetable broth. And, you know, I spent the whole year just only eating completely organic stuff, absolutely no sugar, you know, all sorts of herbal teas. I had dozens and dozens of healings from hypnotherapy to kinesiology to homeopathics. I saw various naturopaths and energy healers. I just kind of just went for it, you know.
Yeah.
I cycled the supplements I was on a lot. And I also and still do see a really amazing naturopath who's in this area who does live blood analysis. And I still go and see him actually for checkups because he actually trains people in live blood analysis and writes books, and he's also written books on alternative cancer treatments and cures.
What's live blood analysis?
It's when they take a little bit of the blood from your finger and put it on a slide and then put it under a microscope. And you can actually see, it's a bit like iridology, you know, when you look in your eyes and you can tell everything from your body. Well, you can look into your blood and pretty much tell a whole load of stuff about your body as well.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And I remember even before any of the lumps had actually gone, I went to see him, and one day he looked at my blood and he said, "You're fine. You're going to heal now." And I did, because he could tell from my blood that, that my body was healing. Anyway, it was a huge journey. And of course, because I was doing so many things, I can't actually tell you exactly what worked and what didn't, because I just did everything at once. I just didn't stop until it was gone, but certainly the black soul was amazing. I also took it internally as a tincture. But like I said, I took so many herbs, so many supplements, but I managed to completely avoid having a mastectomy, and I didn't have any chemo or radiation. And since then, I've been on the natural version of the medication that is supposed to control the estrogen in your body. And anyway, then I had 10 years of just, a new life, really, because when you've been through something like that, you're a completely different person at the end. You don't have any of the nitty-gritty worries or, blah blahs. There's none of that, really. Every day I just woke up feeling so grateful for my health. And I went on many different pathways, which we can talk about a little bit later if you want. But then about 2.5 years ago, the cancer came back in exactly the same place as it was before. So again, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do all this again. But I thought, right, I'm just going to do what I did last time. I'm going to do all of this and all of that. I'm going to do the black soul. I'm going to do all the herbs, all the supplements, go off everything, all sugar, all, coffee, alcohol, anything that would put a strain on my body. And I spent 6 months.
I'm just curious about the lump that came back. Was that the same one that came out with the black salve, not the other two?
Well, it was in the same place, because when I used the black salve, it left a scar, because obviously I pulled, there was a hole in my boob, so it left a scar, and I noticed that the scar was looking a bit red and irritated, and so that's when I went to have an ultrasound.
Yep.
But I mean, I had been completely clear, because I'd had regular ultrasounds, throughout, that time since before, and they were always clear.
And also,
but for some reason, yeah.
And also, like, I just hear that you're saying you do ultrasounds, so you've never had a mammogram, because I've had a mammogram once and I just thought never again, I'll only do ultrasound. So you're the same?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, stitching yeah, exactly. Putting that much radiation into your sensitive breast tissue whilst it's being squashed is quite a thing. But yeah. Anyway, so I went ahead again and did everything I did last time to try and heal myself naturally, but this time nothing I did worked. And within 6 months of discovering the lump, it had actually grown to 3 times the size, and it had gone into my lymph nodes in my armpits. So I think it's about 18 months ago now, I had a mastectomy and I had half my lymph nodes removed. Again, I just followed my intuition. I mean, I was going along thinking, I got this. And then one day I went, Sanne, you haven't got this. You haven't got this time. You're going to have to, go and have surgery. So I did. And then, of course, they wanted me to do chemotherapy and radiation and all of that. But again, I just really didn't feel that was for me. So there is a pretty amazing test you can get. It's called RGCC. And what they do is they isolate your own particular cancer cell, and they try 55 different botanical substances on it to see which kills it the best. And so you can really, work out what supplements are going to work best for you. They also do a lot of genetic testing about your immune system, and they get an overall picture of your complete unique self. And then you're able to take supplements and herbs and do things like heat or cold, or there's so many things that they can work out what's best for you. And they actually then give you guidelines of supplements to take and things to do. So I did that instead of chemotherapy and radiation.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so 18 months since I've had the surgery, it's still young days, and
Yeah.
the hardest part, and I'm sure anyone that's ever had to deal with cancer will agree, the hardest part is the anxiety of knowing that any day you can wake up and it's all on again.
Mm.
It's just, especially when you've had it twice. Maybe when, the first time I had it, after a couple of years, I was like, I'm good, I'm done. It could be next month, it could be next year, it could be in 10 years' time, it could be never.
Yeah.
And that is still the hardest thing that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. If I ever kind of wake up and I don't feel very well, or I get a shooting pain, or I get an ache or anything, there's always that little voice in my head, that just says, oh my God, I wonder if it's that come back again.
Yeah.
And try as I might to banish all of those thoughts, my human monkey mind still likes to have a bit of fun, and still does. Regularly I'll find myself going off into scenarios and I have to pull myself back and give myself a good talking to, say thank you, my mind, for planning for this future, but that's not my future. That's not where I'm going. I visualize myself being 88 and hanging out with my grandkids, and I do everything I can to manage that, that monkey mind. So yeah, and that pretty much brings us up to current. I will also say that not only both my parents died of cancer, my mum had breast cancer, my auntie, my dad's sister, died of breast cancer, and then 2 of her daughters have also had breast cancer. So I kind of feel that, and I have had genetic testing, and I do have certain genes that will, make this more of a possibility for me. But I sort of feel like it's on both sides of my family tree. And because I have led an incredibly healthy life, and when I look at other people and how they live, I think, wow, why me? Of course, as we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm seriously determined to break the ancestral chains, the ancestral patterns, because I think I can. I believe I can. I believe that I can change my genes. I believe that I can break this pattern, because I don't want to pass this on to my own kids or my own nephews and nieces and things like that. So yeah.
So yeah, you probably pretty much sort of almost answered what I was going to ask next, like, because I do see that you quite often we are carrying a genetic history, and it's something that sort of hits us quite hard when it comes through, because it's like, where did this come from? But yeah, it's a part of our responsibility that we put up our hands in the etheric realm to say, hey,
Yeah.
I'll commit to bringing this to an end. Like, it's a part of what we choose to do. But do you see, like, aside from that, do you see any other metaphysical sort of, psychological, metaphysical potential causes of the breast cancer? Like anything lying, somewhere subconscious in your psychology?
I think the first time that I dealt with it, I certainly did. I realized that I wasn't living my life fully for me. I realized that I was being suppressed. I realized that there were relationships in my life that really were bringing me down. I realized that I wasn't honoring myself. I didn't have clear boundaries. I mean, I did so much work the first time, and it resulted in things like, for example, I mean, I've been with my partner for 20 years this year. We lived together for the first 10 years, but after the first episode that I had to deal with, I decided that I wanted to live by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been living by myself ever since. And we have a much better relationship now, because, we live apart. We're not all tangled up together.
Yeah.
And many, many, many things changed in our relationship at that time. I've become a staunch person. I don't let anybody bring me down. I'm really clear in my communication. I mean, I think I did a really good job. And so when it came back, I was like, well, what am I doing? Have I slipped back into patterns again? Am I doing things like before? But I really, really couldn't see that I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a theory actually about why it came back, because I was very blessed to be able to finally get my own bit of land a few years ago. And I built a shed with lovely water tanks, and I'm very, very, very blessed to be here. Actually, I live in this gorgeous place. But what happened was my shower went blue, and I was like, "What? Why have I got a blue shower?" And this went on for a while, and then somebody said it might be copper, and I went, "Copper? Okay, I've got everything's new, all the water pipes new. So I had my water tested, and indeed, it was off the Richter scale, high in copper.
Ooh.
So I got some people out, to talk about this, because copper drives cancer. Copper is not, you can't be having high copper if you're prone to cancer. It's just a complete no-no. They tested my rainwater, and it was really, really acidic. And the acidic rainwater was going through the copper pipes, and it was actually stripping copper from the copper pipes.
Yep.
Because it was so acidic. And so I say to this, expert water guy, like, why is rainwater so acidic? He couldn't tell me. I mean, I have a new roof, I have a new water tank, I have new copper pipes. Maybe it's all the newness. He said rainwater is usually very acidic. So he ended up putting a giant calcite filter on. So all the water now that comes through my taps is alkaline, which is good. And my shower isn't blue anymore. But if there was one thing that I could think of that brought this on again, I would. That's the only thing I can think of, because I've fully been living my dreams. I've fully just been getting loads of sleep and rest, and I don't have much stress, and all my relationships are great. I mean, I just couldn't think of any reason why it would have come back. That's the only thing I could think of. So, and I will never know, of course.
Yeah.
If that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting, very interesting. So, San, will you tell us, how you're quite unique in that, you've taken your healing journey and you've turned it into the gift that you want to share with the world. So, share with us your gift, like what you've how you've taken this and turned it around into something amazing.
Okay, meaning the business Natural Breast Care. Well, way back then when I was first diagnosed, I obviously decided that I wasn't going to go through the surgery and the chemo and the radiation. So I started looking for ways that I could heal my breasts. And there was just this gaping hole in breast care. Like there's, you go into a health food shop or a pharmacy, and there's everything for your ears and your eyes and your hair and your skin and your legs. We do all of this stuff. We shave our legs or wax our legs, and we dye our hair, and we put makeup on and nail polish, and we take supplements, to make our brain better and for our gut. And there's pretty much supplements and products and protocols for every other part of the body, but there was just nothing for breasts. And so when I had recovered this first time, which is like 12 years ago now, I decided that I wanted to really fly the flag for breast care. And during my healing, I've made myself a balm with hemp and coconut, and I put magnesium and iodine in it, because we're all deficient in magnesium and iodine, and those two minerals especially are essential for our breast health. The iodine, especially in Australia, there's hardly any minerals in the soil. It's a very, very old continent, and unless you eat lots of seafood regularly, you're not really ever going to get enough iodine. And so I made this balm and I applied it every day, because magnesium and iodine are both absorbed transdermally, which means they actually absorb through the skin into the tissue. And magnesium is a TGA-approved painkiller. So straight away I realized that, I didn't put this balm out into the world as a cure for cancer. That isn't it at all. I put this balm out into the world because I realized that when you massage your own breasts lovingly, you're actually doing yourself a huge service. Usually we ignore our breasts. We put them in a bra, they're stagnant all day. We sit a lot these days. We don't run around chasing dinosaurs, and they're not flopping up and down like they used to do. There's a lot of stagnation in breasts today. And if you look at anywhere where there's stagnation, there's normally dis-ease. Even like a creek bed, you get those little pockets where the water hasn't been through and cleaned it out, and it's just stagnant, and it's awful. It's usually smelly, and there's usually like rubbish and crap and algae growing and everything. And I realized the importance of dry brushing and massage, and really just getting some movement and some chi and some blood flow and some lymph flow in this area, in this area of our breast, which is a major lymphatic center. So I had already myself started dry brushing every day, knowing that it was going to help heal my body. And I was already massaging my breasts every day with the magnesium and the iodine. And I'd added all these essential oils that kill cancer cells, like in a Petri dish, obviously, but most essential oils kill cancer cells. But there's some especially the lemons, the lemongrass, the lemon, the grapefruit, they contain limonene. And limonene has been proven to kill cancer cells. Things like thyme, peppermint, they're all incredible essential oils. And so I made this balm for myself. I'd been dry brushing, I'd been massaging, to get everything moving. And so after I recovered, I thought, right, I want to get this out in the world. So I made this kit, which came with a brush, instructions on the directions of brushing and how to massage your breasts. And we started creating this ethos, really, to shift away from the fear that some women have, or the taboos that some women have of even touching their own breasts. They go to the doctor once a year and let the doctor look for a lump. And it was all fear-based. And even like if they did their self-checking, it would be fear-based. And so I guess the whole concept of natural breast care is to move away from fear, come into love. Because wherever you send good, loving attention, it's going to help. Tender, loving care, hands-on. All of these things are age-old, dry brushing, massage. It's always been an ancient way of healing, and of helping and supporting the body. And because there was no products for breasts at all that I could really find, especially anything that had actives in, like the magnesium and the iodine, it just seemed like, I couldn't not do it. I just had to, And because, my mum had died and my aunties, and because I've been so touched by this, And when we started looking into it, like up to 90% of women, this is many different statistics, and I actually don't really believe statistics. I think they're all, dependent on who's funding the project. But most women do get breast pain at some stage during their life, like whether it's PMT or menopause, hormonal imbalances. So many women get cysts, fibrocystic breasts. There's so many things that can go wrong with breasts. And most of it is about stagnation. It's about inflammation, having too much fluid. It's about, that they're just in a bra, underwired bra, just stagnant all day. And so, yeah, we've had hundreds of thousands of emails over the years from women who have just are so happy that their breast pain's gone, their cysts have shrunk, their fibrocystic breast doesn't hurt them. It's a really, really good balm. And of course, we can't make any claims, and we don't. We just say that, the art of brushing and massage with a beautiful balm is going to be helpful. And, we just let it talk for itself, really.
Yeah.
So, so it all started off with just the one balm in the kit, but now we have lovely herbal teas for balancing hormones and detoxing, breast health teas. And we recently created a butter, because when I had the mastectomy, the surgeon told me to put Vaseline on it to help the scar, to seal the scar and help it heal. And of course, Vaseline is a petrochemical, based, it's toxic. So we created this absolutely beautiful butter with all organic oils, which is quite similar to Vaseline. And so that is absolutely wonderful. And that's been going out. We make little samples and we send them out to women who are going through, breast surgery and things like that. So we're just expanding and we're just chipping away. But really, if you get online and you want to learn anything about breasts, our website is full of information about breasts. We're all about education and all about stopping taboos, stopping fears, and coming from a loving place when we consider our breasts. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, personally, like, I've received some of your amazing products and used them, and I've developed, way more awareness of breast care because of what you've done.
Mm.
Um, but you were saying I read a newsletter from you guys saying that um you can't even put things on social media saying the word breasts. I mean, what's going on there?
I know. Well, we can put posts up, but we can't boost posts or do any sort of paid advertising because of the word breast. And right from the start, we've never been able to do it. Every time we try and do it, it gets taken down, or it doesn't even get up in the first place. And years ago, we managed to actually get through and speak to humans, and they would say, "Oh yeah, no, it's all right, all good. You're good to go now." And then we try and no. And not only that, but every time we try and advertise, they threaten to take our page down completely.
Mm.
And it's absolutely ridiculous, all because of the word breast in our name. Even if we do a post that doesn't have the word breast in it, it's just an image, or no, it just we've never been able to advertise on social media. And in this day and age, this is where people get their products out there. Like, how can we get this out in the world, otherwise? So we've got a great website, of course, and we do Etsy, but it's really hard for us to get to get ourselves out there and to get better known, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's very strange. Like I just sort of thought, no, would there be anything wrong with saying the word penis? Like, like I don't know. Like it just sort of seems strange to me that you can't say breast
Mm.
um when
Yeah,
it's just
I know.
art. Like
Yeah, it's because it's in our name. It's because we're called Natural Breast Care. But I've heard of lots of things, like people that make like lubricants, and they're all shadow banned. Their pages are taken down, or nobody, they don't come up when you search them, and
mm,
it's a thing. And now, of course, with all this AI stuff, you can't even talk to a human anymore. Not that that helped anyway, but yes. So we're looking at other ways. We love our subscribers. We love to send out newsletters to people. But yeah, it's it's very hard to have a small business in this day and age at the moment. Anyway, there's a big economic recession going on. Lots of businesses are closing, and pretty much like I funded this business from my pay. I work 3 days a week at the Happy Herb Company.
hmm.
Awesome bunch of people, great company.
Yeah.
And right from the start, I mean, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. I didn't even have $2,000 or $5,000. Every week I would put as much as I could out of my wages, you know, into paying the person that started designing the label and buying ingredients and trialing it. And I pretty much paid for this out of my wages right from the start. I've never taken a wage myself. And sometimes I wonder why I do it, because I spend a lot of time doing it. I've never made any money. I pay everybody else. Most of that money that has been invested has come out of my pay. And there's certain times when, the sales just drop, and then I've just got to put more of my wages in again, and it's just to keep everybody paid and to keep things rolling. And yeah, it's I'm having big thinks about this at the moment, about how to move forward, because I'm going to be 60 next year, and I don't want to keep working to pay to have a business, if you know what I mean. And so I'm in a really unique situation at the moment. I'm having some dark nights of the soul and doing some deep thinking, because I need some help. I need an investor to come in, or a business person,
Mm.
or I don't know, or some way that that this business can can survive without me having to keep topping it up.
Yeah.
So I've put it out to the universe at the moment, and I'm going to have some meetings with business coaches, and I'm going to work out how to move forward, because yeah, I've really made a decision that I don't want to keep putting my wages into this business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll certainly hold some positive vision, and I'm sure a lot of other people will as well. Like, that
awesome.
that it
Yeah,
will happen. So
yeah.
anyway,
I mean, yeah.
we're drawing close to the end, but is there anything you'd like to close with that you'd like to share in closing?
Oh, well, thank you very much for spending your time today interviewing me, Neptune. It's really awesome. And I really hope that the story that I've shared inspires other people to maybe look a bit deeper rather than just do what doctors say, because they often don't know. Nobody knows our bodies like ourselves. And, you know, our intuition is really our inner selves telling us what we need. And yeah, it's so important to really look a bit deeper and look into yourself and look into your intuition whenever you're faced with anything, not even just a health problem, anything really. Hey,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that the future is bound to have more breast care in it. It's just bound to.
Yeah.
You know, like imagine if we never brushed our teeth. Imagine if we didn't have toothpaste and tooth floss, and you know, like we'd all have rotten teeth, right? It's just such a no-brainer that it's, you know, inspiring women to take the health of their breasts in their own hands is definitely the way forward. So yeah, I'm going to keep flying the flag for it for sure.
Mm.
And yeah,
And it just occurred to
yeah,
me that the breasts are the heart chakra as well. Like, you know, like it's a really core
yeah,
point of us, you know, where our flow of
it
love
is
comes from. So, yeah, and the
absolutely
nurturance of the mind.
nurturing.
Mm.
Exactly, exactly. It's so true. Yay! So blessings. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining, and thank you to our viewers, and I'm sure you will have loved this journey here with Sun.
Awesome. And I guess I should just say that our website is naturalbreastcare.au.
Yep,
If
I'll put that,
anybody
I'll
wants
put
to
that on.
read,
I'll put that on the
oh,
YouTube
yeah,
video and everything. So don't you worry about that.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, my story is on there too. And do follow us and like us on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.